Hey guys, welcome back once again. We're going to go through a new item I just picked up. It is the Gordon, part number 59617. And this is their latest, actually just dropped, guys, this week. So this is just barely coming out. And actually, this one was sold out at my store, and I had to go to another store to get it. And it wasn't even on the shelves yet. So we're going to go over what's unique about this, why it might be something good, maybe there might be some downsides to it as well, and see if it's worth your guys' time and money. So let's jump into it. This is once again the Gordon 20-in-1 multi-tool set, and as you can see here, there are various key features to it: saws, knives, files, wire crimpers, strippers, cutters, pliers, you name it, bottle can opener, stuff that's all very much reminiscent of Leatherman tools, and maybe more specifically a Leatherman Wave. Now I've got a older Leatherman Wave here that I've had for many years. This one doesn't have all the cam locking features to it and whatnot, but this will serve as a good, just a quick comparison between the two, because as we dive into this, you'll notice that this Gordon is very much similar to the Leatherman Wave, and more so the newer version, which I have one. For whatever reason, I couldn't grab it for this video, couldn't find it, but we're just going to take a look, and those of you guys who have a Wave, or maybe are looking into getting a Wave, this may be something worth your guys' time, and I want to dive into it. So let's take a quick look. Now, first and foremost, it's always nice to know where these are manufactured. Leatherman is made in the United States. This Gordon is made in good old China. And here you guys can see here, feel free to take a snapshot or freeze, but this is a quick rundown of all of the tools herein. So we'll hop in there and take a look at them. Now it's also worth noting too that the Gordon comes with the nylon pouch. So you tie it to your belt. It's only one direction for the belt, but it all fits inside. We'll actually show you guys real quick the pouch. Fits in there nice. It is a very tight clasp. It holds it very snugly. So that is actually a nice feature. Minimalistic and very similar to the Leatherman pouch. Now, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I believe the new Leathermans do not come with pouches. I think you have to pay for those separately. I saw those going for about 30 to 40 bucks for these nylon pouches. But correct me if I'm wrong, I do not believe the new Leathermans come with that pouch. So, anyways, worth looking into. So the Leatherman Wave comes as an 18-in-1 tool, whereas the Gordon, as we just saw here, is a 21 multi-tool. So you get a couple more extra features with the Gordon than you do with the Leatherman. Now both are made out of stainless steel. The majority, I think the components, especially the knife components of the Leatherman, are going to be 420 HRC. So a nice steel. And when you look at the Gordon, it's going to be, it actually says here on the front, that you guys see for yourself real quick, without some glare. That's going to be a little bit hard here, but 5CR15 MOV, which is a good steel in its own right. It has good hardness, good edge retention, great corrosion resistance, and it's going to be chip resistant as well. But the idea is it's going to keep a good, solid edge pretty long time. And I think the 420, there's some of you metallurgists out there, the 420 HC is going to be, I think, a slightly better in that regard, but these are going to be pretty comparable in qualities. But once again, we have some metallurgists out there. Feel free to chime in. So let's take a look. What is all in this, right? I mean, sizing-wise, they are very similar, right? Very similar in size. Very similar in function, as we'll find out, too. And there's some other ones here, too. You guys might have seen these. They pop up on Amazon. Rockdoll, there's other names of them, but they've had their own version of the Leatherman Wave. But the problem with those is you can actually feel it and see it. They're actually bulky. They're big and bulky, and they don't quite have as many features as you're going to find here in the Gordon. So we'll start off first and foremost. We'll get the blade out that you guys see. Wrong side on this one. So you guys get a look-see here at the blades. The blades are going to be very similar in size and length. Just a slight change. It is single-finger deployment, which is actually quite nice with the blades. You can see they actually have a nice step down taper to the screws that go through. And it's also worth noting too, since we got this here, let's take a quick look. As you look at how these are attached, Leatherman's done it without, as far as I've known, any washers in between. Right, this is just metal compressed against metal, which can make it initially kind of hard to use these. I've had this one for years, so it's a lot easier to use now. But the Gordon has gone in there, sorry guys, I gotta get this to focus, and actually put brass in between on both sides of this blade, and then also on the opposing sides. So you have 4 on this side and 4 on the other side, which make it very smooth in its function. And even opening up too. This is quite smooth to open up. And has good detents when you lock in too. It's not super loose, but the full function of rolling around is actually quite nice. So starting there, blades. I mean, Leatherman had a pretty good edge on this when I got it initially. But I actually say here, the Gordon, it's got a pretty decent grind to it. And it is quite sharp, actually. So this is actually coming out really good first hit. All right, next down. And the locks work pretty much the same. You'll notice here with the Leatherman, there's just a little bit of play because those fully engage to the edge of this, bolt. So it actually doesn't fully, you guys can see that, it doesn't fully seat. It goes past. Whereas I'll say with these ones, they did a pretty good job. It actually goes about 3/4 of the way and locks, and there's absolutely no play. So that's great. That gives you some time over time to grow into that locking mechanism, that line lock. So I do like that they've done that. Now let's jump over here to the serrated blade. Let you guys see the difference between the two. Right, both similar lengths, overall lengths. I do like the added eyelet hole here. It does help for a little bit extra, getting your thumb inside there to single finger deploy. And the locking mechanism's very much the same. This actually has a slightly larger ball detent than the Leatherman does. At least the first gen. But easy to get to. Now, the serrations, extremely good serrations on the Leatherman. And I will say here, I do have a slight gripe with this serration in that the finish isn't perfect. And if you get in the right light, you can actually start to see the reflection. It wasn't done. There you go. You can start to see some of those reflections. It wasn't done the best. So slight gripe there. But the overall finish to the blade looks good. And then, as you notice here on the back side, you do have the addition of like the seatbelt cutter, or if you want to call it the fish gutter, or what have you, a gut hook. That actually is pretty nice and sharp. They did a good job getting in there and making that edge pretty sharp. And we can give it a quick test too. I have an old seatbelt actually right here. Let's give it a quick test. See how it cuts. Yeah, cut right through. Not a problem. For reference, if you just fold it over on the serrated edge, that got that far. So 1/4 of the way. There you go, just caught on and pulled itself on through. So they did a good job on that edge for the gutter. So no problems there. I actually like that quite a bit. Let's get this cleaned off here real quick. So good on that blade. We'll roll on over. It does have I'm going to call these the cam locks. I don't know if Leatherman has their actual name for that, but this is a nice advancement that came with the later Leathermans that allow you to fully lock in your blades as opposed to let them sit there. Now as you roll inside, you're going to have your Phillips. Pretty traditional. And they do actually have it cantered slightly. I don't think it's perfectly straight, actually. I think it's just a little bit too far cantered back this direction. So I've got a little bit of a gripe there. And then once again, cam lock it. It does have a good positive lock. While we're here too, it's also worth noting that this is your glass breaker. It is not a point. It is actually a ball. So a little bit different. And I will note here too that while you have it, I don't know how you're going to use that, especially if you pull it out real quick and you're trying to break glass. Because if you have the pocket clip in here, the pocket clip sticks out further than that ball. And they also have the ball coming back inwards this direction. So the only way I see actually using this is to turn it sideways, maybe you grab it as a pistol, or straightly extending it and attempting that way. But I hate that because this could come back and smash your hand as you're trying to break glass. So I do not like that location. I would have much rather liked to seen it on one of these ends where you could just take it and allow yourself to slightly turn your hand to hit glass as one solid blunt object. Obviously there's not enough space over here to put it on this end, but yeah, not the best placement. Now while we're here, the pocket clip, it's worth taking a look at that. To release the pocket clip, hit the cam, pull it out. Very simple. It has a very nice finish to it, and it has a good spring. We'll put it back on unless you guys see the spring, but it goes in and out rather effortlessly. And once it's in, it is not... Take that back and push the button with my finger though. Hold on. It stays in there nice. It's not going anywhere. And it does have a good deep pocket carry, so it drops all the way in there, which I like deep pocket carries a lot. And this does a good job of not being too tight, but not being too loose. So that is actually a nice added feature. All right, jumping back in there, taking a look at all of those features that come with it. So you got your screwdriver here. It's a medium size. And then we dive into the next one. And this is going to be your fine screwdriver. Let's see if you catch this. And this is a double-sided. So this is going to be for your glasses. And then you flip it over to this side, and it's going to be a Phillips. I did notice that on the Phillips that the grind isn't perfect. It actually is off a little bit. But it looks like it'll still function. It's just going to be slightly off. So that I do have a gripe on that. That did not come out perfect. Now retention is going to be different on this one compared to the other, compared to Leatherman's Wave. I'm not going to show it on here because this one doesn't have this version in here. But it's actually a magnet that goes down inside here. Whereas the other Leatherman actually has a spring that compresses it as it goes in, which I do like that. But the magnet holds pretty good until you get to there and it just wants to take off. So functionality, it's okay. It does the job, but I think the Leatherman wins in that category. And then the scissors here, we'll pull those out for you. These are unique. They're not going to be the same as these scissors. But the scissors are going to be very similar to the newer version of the Wave. And they look actually and fit really nice. Very minimal play in the scissors. Some cord here, we'll give it a shot. Oh, that was super easy. Yeah, that wasn't even hard at all. Seatbelt. It's a little bit harder with the seatbelt, but good clean cuts. So, great set of scissors. We'll flip those back down. And while I've got this open too, you can see that there is measurements across here. So if you're measuring from the end, inwards inches, you go up to 7, maybe 8. That might be 8 inches. And then down here in this centimeter category as well, you can measure in centimeters, although the centimeters appear to start right here. If I'm correct, at the corner. So that is a little bit different how that's laid out. I'm not sure I follow that. Okay, so flipping on over to this side, we'll check out these accessories. So you're going to have a wire stripper here, which is plenty sharp actually, so that's good. And then you have a bottle opener / can opener here, hence why when you look at the actual blade, it doesn't really exist. So it'll still open a can in a pinch, but I figure that's mostly there because you want to use it as a bottle opener and not a can opener. So functionality, still there, but not excellent. All right, and then this one's going to be the bit driver. This is going to be a complete knockoff of Leatherman. Right, they have their special bit driver accessories that you could work in here. And yeah, it's a nice Phillips and a nice taper on this flathead here. So yeah, actually works quite well. What's going to be different about this one too is it's going to use a magnet, whereas the one on Leatherman's going to be yet again another compression fitting. But overall, fit and finish of these, nice. They're nice attachments. And then the pliers themselves, right? I feel like they should say something right in here, like Leatherman, since it's such a rip or copy. But it does not have the removable jaws that the Leatherman has. So these will just be fixed ones, which is a slight downside, but not too crazy. As far as the teeth, they line up actually pretty nicely. It does look like a forging. It's a pretty good forging actually too, pretty clean. So not bad. We'll give them a quick cut here. Actually, we'll have some wire just to give a quick test. That does fine, as does. So some typical electrical wire cuts just fine in there. Yeah, not a problem. You could probably take some baling wire too, which shouldn't be a problem. I think your softer metals will be just fine cutting in there. But overall, guys, the function right here of opening and closing is real nice. Oh, it's also worth noting too, they actually snuck in a nice additional feature for if you have electrical fittings. You can put them inside here and you actually squeeze, and it'll allow you to crimp those electrical fittings. So that is a neat little feature. How well that works, it might be a little bit of a challenge because it doesn't have a lot of depth to it. But you could definitely put something in there and crimp and pinch it. I do like it is straight. I do like that this has a nice flat spot on your hand. It's very nice. Weight-wise, it's going to be right on par with the Leatherman. Close this up so you guys see. Jaw-wise, see, this is very reminiscent of each other. Old Leatherman versus new. This is slightly larger jaw. So if you like the added length or width of the jaw, that's nice. Overall length, they're dead on. Even thickness. There's going to be a little bit more thickness in here in comparison to the two, but I think overall, for being a kind of a DIY multi-tool, I don't think you're going to get hurt running these guys. I don't think you're going to have any problems breaking them anytime soon. So overall, everything seems to flow actually quite nice. And we'll actually come back. I forgot these two last positions or accessories. So you have a file here. I want to see how good that file feels against my Leatherman, because these are going to be pretty similar in their functionality. So it's got some bite to it, as does that. Let's see how well they both. Okay. Rotate that a little bit. The other one wants to bite a lot. Though it feels pretty close. So I think they're going to be pretty on par, which is nice to see. I think you got the diamond side. Does a good job on that one. And then the diamond side on the Gordon. That actually has a little more life to it. So pretty good. And then here's what's something worth noting is the actual teeth are actually pretty aggressive for the metal. And it says that this is like a metal but also wood file. I mean, obviously that will work for wood because it's got some teeth, but let's give it a shot here. And I would imagine this is only, if you use this on harder metals, guys, I don't see that holding up. So I'd say your softer metals, if you put this on here, let's see if it does anything. Yeah, I did a little something there. Not a whole lot. Let's see how the teeth look. Teeth are still holding up. Let's do real quick here with the Leatherman. right? Because the Leatherman has shorter finite teeth. I feel like the Leatherman just bit in a little bit better. So edge, once again, I think for this whole file, minus the backside here, is going to go towards a Leatherman. But guys, I mean, you're talking about a price difference, right? And let's talk about that real quick. Price of this Leatherman is, especially the newer version today, is going to be $120, plus whether or not you get that sheath with it. If not, that's another $30 on top of it. Whereas this Gordon, guys, you could get over at Harbor Freight, of all places, for $39. So a direct knockoff, we get it, guys, it's a knockoff. But that's a solid $39. And I actually just went and bought today. There's a 20% coupon. I got 20% off. So low 30s is what I just paid for this. That is an amazing price for an exceptional tool. Like, this is, in some features, better than the Leatherman, and in some features, just behind. I mean, and not by much. And then here's your wood saw. I mean, that looks great. Really aggressive teeth. And then we'll do the wood saw here. All right, the difference here being is the Leatherman's nice in that it's directional. So as you go forward, it's not cutting as deep. It's only when you're pulling it back. Whereas this one's going to be biting in both directions, both forward and back. But overall lengths is actually a little bit short. Well, if you show teeth engagement, yeah, they're going to be about the same. Although this one's just a tad bit longer overall. And they have about the same width. And they both do still have a taper to them. I think the Leatherman still does. Yep, a slight taper. So that they don't get stuck in the wood. Yep, they both have a taper going backwards. So, I mean, guys, if you're on the edge and trying to figure out which one you want to get functionality-wise, I mean, they physically weigh almost exactly the same too. Like, they are very, very similar in size and functionality. And, I mean, I don't imagine these staying on the shelves. Just like the Icon knife that came out, I'm not as much of a fan of that as I am this Gordon multi-tool. I mean, it's got a clip that the Wave doesn't have. It's got extra features, especially the seatbelt cutting feature. You could also use it to, let's pull it up here, sorry guys. You should pull it up here to cut paracord. Although this one's going to be a little bit, there you go, it's a little bit thicker paracord. It's just got more features, and it's got more handiwork kind of done into those smaller finite items that make it unique. But, I mean, for being made in China, they do a good job keeping it on par. Now, before I close this out, I want to do a quick test of the HRC scale on this, because it should roll in about 55 or 58. So let's give it a quick hit of 50. We'll just hit up, maybe we'll just hit up the blade. We'll flip it over. I want you guys to see for yourself as we test these out, because I want to see if it actually is hard, because that's going to be key to this blend of 5CR 15 MOV. It's going to be key to that withstanding and being a good. Alright, so I'm just running right now, guys, a 50 HRC across it, and we could wipe it off and see how that turned out. Now it's just barely putting a little, sorry guys, we could help you out here. Barely putting like a little superficial scratch. So I'm going to say that's not hard enough yet. 50 is not hard enough. Let's go to 55. If we hit 55, then we're right in the realm of it being the proper hardness. So I'm going to slide it over to this edge right here. We'll see. There you go. Actually started to scratch it. Right there. So HRC 55 is where we're going to be, or somewhere in between 50 and 55. So this should be, for the proper tempering, it should be around 55 to 58. I'm going to go ahead and say this one's probably right around, probably 53. We'll give it a rough number of 53 because it did scratch at 55. So a little bit lower than where I want it to be, but overall, still going to be a good quality knife. Still is going to function the way you want it to. And guys, I am thoroughly impressed with how well this knife, this multi-tool, performs. I've actually been carrying around all day, and I mean, I'm not an EDC guy that typically likes to carry around multi-tools just because they're big and heavy and clunky. But this is lighter, much lighter than these knockoffs. I mean, these have a lot of metal to them, and they're good in their own right. And maybe we'll do a video of these ones later on. But as far as the weight, it's got a good weight for being a multi-tool. And so I'm saying if you're in the boat for one of these, I'd be impressed. I'd actually be impressed to see if any of these, any of the Leatherman attachments actually cross over in here. So if you could swap out items and kind of build your own, I wouldn't be surprised if you could, because this would be a good base to build it off of. So, yeah, color me impressed. This is a good knife. The Leatherman's a good knife. Pay $120 and some change for all the extra bits and storage, or pay $39 from Harbor Freight and save a boatload. Yeah, this is awesome, guys. I give that a super thumbs up. So I'd love to hear you guys' comments. Do you have either one of these yet? Do you have a Leatherman? What do you notice or like about your Leatherman that maybe it's not featured in this Gordon? Or honestly, tell me, did Harbor Freight do something right with this Gordon to maybe switch you over? Because for $39, that is an easy buy all day long. Anyways, guys, appreciate your time. If this video was good, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe. I'd love to shoot more content your guys' way. All right, guys. Talk to you on the next one.